What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Zoned In podcast. We got a good episode in store for you today. As you can see, Weezo is not here. He scored some sweet tickets to the UConn Georgetown basketball game, so he was going to go watch that and enjoy a nice experience, I guess, in a sweet box. So I mean, fair enough, right? So yeah, let's kick it in the now right away here. Our first segment was going to be Knicks Wizards fandom, but since he's not here, we'll skip that and we'll do our NBA week recap. I'd like to preface this first before I say my team of the week. I picked them before the game yesterday. The game didn't go so hot for them, but they've won 4 of their last 5, including beating some quite good teams like the Clippers. So my team of the week is the Pelicans. Their big players have been going off recently. I mean, even the loss last night, Zion had 30. 2 games ago against Toronto, Ingram had 41. They've been playing a lot better this season than in the past. So that's why they're my team of the week. Max?
My team of the week, I had to go with the Phoenix Suns. They started the week with a 140-112 domination game over Knicks Wizards. Bradley Beal had a little bit of a breakout game there. It's 43 points. Haven't seen that in a couple games. They beat a pretty good Bucks team. I mean, they were without Dame, and it was a close one, 114-106. KD leading the way in scoring in that one. And again, KD led the way last night with Booker being out. They beat the Jazz 129-115 on Thursday. And they play the Warriors today, which I believe is a very winnable game. And they could go 4-0 this week with Booker being out for a couple games, which is great for them. They're making a good push for the playoff run.
Yeah, for sure. Carl?
So for my team, I chose the Detroit Pistons. They are 2-1 in their last 3, which is a big step up from what they've been doing recently. Yeah, ever since they got rid of Killian Hayes, it just seems like they're a whole different team, which is interesting. And they're scoring 120 points in their last 3 games, which is very, very high. Usually, even though they're terrible, they're known as like a defensive team for the most part. So 120 is quite a bit, and they've been beating some decent opponents recently. So
Nice. Moving on to player of the week. My player this week, he's a rookie. His team, they're not winning games. I was trying to, kind of pick a player that's not really in the limelight as much as the other players I've been picking. But my player of the week is Brandon Miller. He had a okay game yet last night. But other than that, this week, he's been pretty hot since last Friday, scoring 28, 35, 33, and 20 against some pretty good teams like the Lakers, OKC. I mean, he's kind of figuring it out, if that makes sense, in the NBA, which is, that's a good thing for a young player to figure it out, especially on a team like the Hornets when you don't have much help anywhere. They don't trade for help at the deadline, so it's just it's a good he's a bright spot on a very dark team. Big Mo?
Look at this guy, man. Picking the same team and shit, stuff like that, man. I also have the Charlotte Hornet as my player of the week. And that's Miles Bridges. Another bright spot in this very dark, terrible organization that is the Charlotte Hornets. He started off the week bad. He went 8-23, 19-point game against the Pacers, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Killed it the second game of the week in their loss to the Lakers, 16 for 26, 41-point game, 4 assists, and was 50% from three-point range. He followed that up with an even bigger performance in the loss to the Raptors. See how I'm saying all losses? They're so bad. Going 17-27 with 45 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and this time 55% from free throw, the 3-point range. And then the last game they played on Thursday, they were terrible against or yesterday, Friday, they were terrible against the Bucks. He was terrible. 11 points, 2 for 16, a 12.5% field goal percentage, 33.3% from three, with only 5 rebounds and 3 assists. So he cooked during the middle of the week, but
Yeah.
to start it and potentially to end it, he was trash. So
Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee kind of was a slowed down Charlotte to begin with. Like they're the guys that are bright on that team right now were doing well against like some mid-level teams, and you get to a team as good as Milwaukee defensively, it's going to be tough.
LaMelo Ball needs to get out of there.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, and I mean, Steve Clifford, it looks like your team does have talent. So you don't have to go out there saying this team sucks. It sucks because you're a shitty coach and you need to do better.
Tell him.
Yep.
Tell him, Carl. Tell him.
Okay. Okay. For my player of the week, I chose Jaden Ivey. He had a phenomenal week. He put up 28 points against the Clippers in a loss, but still 28 points is 28 points. Only 18 against Orlando, but he put up 37 points over Sacramento and 26 over Portland in a back-to-back. And funny enough, in that game against Portland on Thursday, he had 38%. He was 38% from the field, but 100% from three. And he was 7 for 7 from three and 8 for 21 from the field.
When he put up 38, you said?
Or 26 that game.
Okay.
He missed anything that wasn't a three except for one shot.
That's crazy.
But he still played very well.
I dropped him in fantasy. That's tragic.
Yeah,
I drafted him as rookie year in fantasy, dude.
Yeah. Also he put up 7 assists the same day. He put up 37 points in those last 2 games over Portland and Sacramento. Sacramento, at least, very good team. Both of those wins.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was watching some Sports Center this morning, just highlights of Sacramento, dude. They work so well together as a team.
I love the Kings right now.
Great ball movement. Great. It's a good vibe. The Kings are a good vibe. All right, now moving in. Now our headline for Joey's Worst of the Week. I know this will be a favorite for some people here. The pool party is over in Washington. This season has been a huge letdown in what was supposed to be Poole's breakout year. He wanted to be the guy on the team, and now he's averaging just under 16 points per game, shooting 29.7% from deep. Between his abysmal postseason performance he had last year and the dreadfully average season he's having currently, it proves that Jordan is simply not the answer in this country's capital. With the league average being 37% from three, this season, Poole's deep range struggles are hard to ignore. And then to put a cherry on top of all of it, Poole's past 2 games, not including the Celtics, because I planned this before the Celtics game, he was 0 for 5 with 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal, and he fouled out against the Cavs. And then against the Suns' average defense, he was 1 for 7 with 4 points, 0 for 3 from the arc, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. In conclusion, Jordan, your party's over. Get out of the deep end before you drown. If you guys have any thoughts, you can go ahead.
Carl, you can take it away first.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, he was in a spot this year where he really had to shine. Him and Kuzma are the only, I guess, semi-impact players on those teams, or on that team in Washington. And it just kind of shows that it was probably this system. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the organization as a whole and just how bad the Wizards are. And it probably brings you down just to know how bad that team is, and that your future might not be as bright on that team as it could be on the Warriors, especially when you have nobody to pick you up. But he just has not been playing that well recently.
Also, it's really easy to look really good with a guy like Steph Curry.
Yeah, especially when Curry's playing completely off ball, and you can kind of dominate a little bit.
and when Clay's actually like last year, Clay actually knew how to shoot a basketball, unlike this year, you know. And then like, that team last year, they were they were nothing special, obviously, because you know they got bounced first round, second round, but having that team around you as your second year, that's definitely a good thing for a young player. Max?
I mean, dude, it's sad. Like 0 points and fouled out in an important game against a good team like the Cavs. 4 points against the Suns when you're expected to be a leading scorer for the team. In my opinion, dude's just lost in the sauce, man. I mean, as we like to say nowadays, bro, he's overpaid. He was overhyped. Now everyone knows he's trash, but he's overhyped. I mean, I agree with this system thing and, you know, being behind Curry. I mean, like, what he was mostly playing off the bench in Golden State, right? You know,
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever a player that needed to be put in a position where he is a leader for a team or he should be that starting caliber guy. At least not right now. He's not showing any sign of that. So, I mean, glorified bench player. I watched the Celtics game. I mean, you put up 19 points, but you know he wasn't the leader of why they almost won that game. I would say
he was still 3 for 10 from deep, and what was it, 7 for 19 from the field.
Brother, I don't want to disrespect the man too much, but I mean, dog, they got Landry Shamet on their bench. I'm pretty sure you put that guy out instead of Jordan Poole, he could probably get some more points. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's crazy.
Big Landry Shamet fan. Big Landry Shamet fan here. No, but I completely agree. There's certain players that just profile well as a role player, and I think Poole is one of those guys. If he's just not a shot chucker. He's not a volume type of guy. He's much better coming off the bench on a good team and giving you 15 in like 20, 25 minutes off the bench. There's no room for him, I believe, in the NBA to be a superstar.
Right. He's a supplementary player, 6 man.
And that contract is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous. No, because in the NBA draft, certain teams are looking for role players. Like, and there's nothing bad with being a role player at all.
Yeah. No.
Players help you win championships.
I mean, yeah. Look at the Celtics. Like they got a shit. They always look for role players. Like Derek White, like even Drew Holiday. Now they're not.
Richard.
Richard. Yeah, he had a good.
Derek White is a perfect example of a very, very good role player.
Yeah. Borderline All-Star this season.
Yes.
All right, and we're gonna keep the train going here, moving right along. We're gonna do our Super Bowl preview as promised from last week. We're gonna give you the winning team, what we think the score is gonna be, Super Bowl MVP, and then we say defensive player of the game as well, just because you know the MVP is usually biased towards quarterbacks, even in the Super Bowl. Although there has been a couple defensive MVPs in recent years. But yeah, we'll kick it down to the man who's rocking the 5-time world champion backgrounds with the Jimmy Garoppolo jersey. Big Mo, take it away.
All right. So here we are, guys. Dude, Super Bowl 57. Isn't this nuts? Like how long we've just been living on this earth, man. You know how many Super Bowls we've seen. Kansas City Chiefs versus San Francisco 49ers. Man, have I seen this somewhere before. I swore I saw this somewhere before, maybe with a different quarterback playing. But, you know, these two teams last faced off the 2022 regular season. Kansas City defeated them handily, 44-23. Before that was the last Super Bowl in mention. Super Bowl 54, where the 49ers lost to the Chiefs, 31-20 with Jimmy G's leading the way. I'd say the 49ers win this game. They find a way. They take advantage of the Chiefs' best receivers being Travis Kelce and Rashid Rice. The defense steps up, and they get a 28-21 victory. I think the man that finally steps up in this game to beat the allegations, to beat the haters, is Brock Purdy. I think he will be this Super Bowl's MVP. You know, he had a rough one against the Lions defense that we weren't expecting to give that offense much trouble. Um, you know, he's 20 for 31, 267 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and was sacked 2 times. But I think Purdy leading the way this time, he's going to prove that he can perform on this biggest stage and that this 49ers team should have been there last year when the Eagles knocked him out with injury. So I think that's going to be our MVP. Defensive Player of the Year, it's no doubt. It's Nick Bosa's about to terrorize Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry. It's just going to happen. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, and 4 QB hits against the Lions, and that is a great offensive line. I think the Chiefs, respectively, they're way better on the interior of their offensive line. And I just don't think that special tackle on the Chiefs that we all love is going to be able to handle Nick Bosa for very long.
Fair enough. All right, Carl, you want to take it away?
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, I do agree with Max. I think Nick Bosa is going to give Patrick Mahomes a lot of trouble, especially lining up against Jawan Taylor. But I have doubted Brock Purdy in the past. That is part of my persona is kind of being a Brock Purdy hater a little bit. I didn't doubt him last week. I knew that they were going to beat the Lions. I didn't know it would be like that, but I did have that happening. And I'm not going to doubt Brock Purdy today. I am not. I am going with the Chiefs, but I do think Purdy turns out a good game. I just can't. I still just cannot go against Patrick Mahomes. I'm aware. I'm aware that this 49ers team is amazing, but it's really like it's like a 50-50. And I'm going to put my chips on the Chiefs defense stepping up big. I think George Karlaftis has a really good game. I think Nick Bolton has a really good game. I think L'Jarius Sneed locks up either Debo or Ayuk. I think Sneed's a phenomenal corner, and I think their 2 safeties play really well too. I just think all around they're one of the best defense in the NFL, and I think Spags is gonna turn out a good one. So I have Chiefs, let's say 31-27.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna shock the world a little bit here. As an average Chiefs hater, not average, avid Chiefs hater, I've made that abundantly clear. It's very much part of my personality. I don't like the Chiefs, but it's hard to root against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I've done it one too many times, and I keep thinking when I look at him, it's just like betting against Brady in the playoffs. Even when you think he's not going to win, he's going to win. When you don't think he has the offense to do it, he's going to do it. So at the end of the day, I want the Niners. I like the Niners. I think that Niners D-line is going to terrorize the tackles of the Chiefs. But I think Patrick Mahomes is just too dang good of a quarterback to not figure it out. And that Chiefs defense this year is just too good under Spags to not figure out how to slow down that Niner offense. And I love Brock Purdy. I think he's going to have a great game. But I think he's going to be getting – I mean, he's good under pressure. I know that. But I think that some of his big players like Ayuk, like Debo, are going to have a lot of trouble getting open against Sneed. And then I think Nick Bolton is I think that Spags is going to have something special prepared for George Kittle, who's just been terrorizing it lately in the playoffs. McCaffrey's going to be a tough one to stop for that Chiefs defense too, which makes it so tough to pick who's going to win this game just because, you know, the X factor of this Niners offense was not here the last time they played in Christian McCaffrey. You also don't have Brock Purdy, but I think that McCaffrey might be a little more valuable to the offense than Brock personally. But it's going to be a really good game. It's the Super Bowl nobody wanted. It's the Super Bowl we didn't deserve, but it's going to be a good game. It's going to be fun. I guess I'll have to go the Chiefs coming out on top. Let's go 27-24. Mahomes wins his, third Super Bowl MVP, and defensive player of the game, Nick Bolton, locks up George Kittle. I hope I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at. Hot zone. Big Mo. Mo. What you got in store for us today, my brother?
Oh, man. I feel like it's been such a long time since we talked about a quarterback. Oh, man. But, I got another one today.
Is it a
today,
doozy?
Hot zone. Hot take. Trey Lance is the biggest draft bust of all time. And the 49ers' worst draft bust of all time. We have, due to his limited play time, his statistics are, but his time with the 49ers, very underwhelming, completing less than 55% of his passes over a little over 4 or 5 starts, touchdown, interception ratio of 5, 3 picks. Can't really count that second season because he just kind of got hurt immediately. Didn't play too great leading up to that point. Being benched for the last pick in the 2022 draft, Brock Purdy indicates there was a significant lack coaching confidence in Lance's abilities. Not going to mention after that happened, he got demoted behind Sam Darnold, who we could consider another draft bust at quarterback. So that's pretty bad. There's still a lot of time, obviously, in a quarterback's career to turn their career around, but he's currently a backup on the Cowboys behind Dak Prescott, who is, I have to say, a good quarterback. So I don't see Trey Lance getting a chance unless he's traded somewhere else or, drastically has like a Tom Brady-ish game of some sort. But I could put him up there with those guys like Jamarcus and Brian Leaf right now. And to go down my part of the 49ers worth draft busts, I think he was probably a worse pick even than Solomon Thomas at like top 5. And I think Javon Kinlaw could be considered a first-round bust as well. So those were a few of the big ones in more recent years. But I think that top spot belongs to Trey Lance right now.
I agree.
Concerns?
What's that?
I said thoughts? Concerns?
Oh. I mean, I agree that he was a bust for the Niners. But I think at that point when he was benched for Brock Purdy, when he was put behind Sam Darnold, he was in an organization that lost faith in him because they found their guy with the last pick in the draft of Brock Purdy. So I think, I don't think he's going to be that guy in Dallas because I think Dak's there to stay for a while. But I think if he goes somewhere else and who's in need of a quarterback, Trey Lance has that natural athleticism where he could become a fairly decent quarterback for another team. However, I don't think he's going to turn into, like top 5, top 10 guy in the league. But I do think he can, step in there and kind of be like a bridge quarterback for some teams down the road. He just needs the right development. I mean, for all we know, it could be like a Baker Mayfield situation. He could just be looking for the right team, the team that's going to, believe with him and actually give him the resources to win. Carl?
I do agree that he is the biggest bust in 49ers history. And I also understand Max's thoughts behind it, considering how many assets they had to give up to move up to number 3. But I don't think he's the biggest bust in history. I think I'd have to give that just to somebody. I mean, I don't think the biggest bust in history could be selected at number 3. I think that has to be number 1. And I think it's Jamarcus Russell still. I mean, you could also say it's somebody like Bo Jackson, who was selected number 1 overall and didn't play a single snap for that team that he was selected by. I I think I think Trey Lance. I think he had. I think he had a. She didn't. He obviously didn't play as much as he would have liked in San Fran, but he's also a guy that needed a lot of time to
Yeah.
develop. And I think that they, first of all, started him too early, and second of all, gave up on him way too quickly. Once that they, but also I don't blame the Niners because they found their guy in Brock Purdy. So I honestly don't think it just doesn't happen that often where a player like that comes into a new organization and magically becomes um, like that guy and amazing. I don't know if he'll ever. I don't think he'll ever become the guy that we were hoping he'd become out of uh, North North Dakota State. So
Yeah. I mean, I think he could be one of the biggest like what ifs almost, just because he does have that athleticism. And, like, we knew he needed time, and
Yeah,
he hasn't played like footballs. When he was drafted, it was what, a year and a half since he actually played a game, right? If I remember
yeah,
correctly.
I think it was
And now,
about a year. He was he sat out for his the COVID year. They didn't have a season.
and then now it's been, she's like, if you count since then, he's played what, 5 games since he got drafted, like start to finish.
six and a half.
6.5.
I don't. Did he even play? I don't even think he played preseason games for the Cowboys. I think it was like Will Greer.
Yeah, because they were trying to trade
playing.
him.
Yeah. Oh, they were trying to get him a spot on a roster.
Yeah,
Um,
he had a spot on the Pats roster for a couple weeks.
Now I will say, if we want to talk about what ifs, right?
Yeah,
Does Trey Lance, if they kept him in this system and this team they have right now for the 49ers, does he produce as well as Brock Purdy?
no,
no.
he's not as accurate. He's not as good under pressure.
I think no. Right now, he would not. But I do think he still has a higher ceiling than Brock Purdy.
Oh yeah,
Just with his arm talent. I thought his decision making was very, very good in college, and it was even good at points in the NFL.
right. No, I agree.
It's difficult. It's difficult for any prospect to not throw a pick in a season,
Oh
which
yeah,
was what he did. So I mean, that was obviously the big, check in the box when they were drafting him, was
Yes.
that turnover ratio.
Yeah.
But the better question is, could we see him in the UFO or a comeback story?
that's not a bad idea. I mean,
I'm ready. I'm ready to send Desmond Ritter there, bro. I'm ready.
I mean,
I think the talent level is a lot less in the UFL, but I think if they start using it like kind of how like the NBA has the G League or minor league minor league baseball and major league baseball work together. If guys are gonna be like platooning, if you will, down to the UFL, I think Trey Lance is one of the first guys on that list who's gonna do that.
yeah, I think I know for quarterbacks, a lot of times we talk about the right situation and wanting to go to like a good organization, a good team. I think it did not work in Lance's favor. I think it hurts him that he went to such a good team because his window for success, he had to be amazing to get that spot. He had no room for growth or no room for failure. If he was on like a worse team, maybe they give him a season or two, maybe even 3. I mean, he's the 3rd overall pick. I think somebody like that needs more time. And I think I think it might have been Tom Brady talking about how quarterbacks nowadays are expected to just jump right into it, and they're not given time to develop. Like Aaron sat under Brett, Tom sat under Drew. I mean, we just don't see that anymore. Quarterbacks are expected to just be the guy right away, and really only the best of the best are able to do that. And some that could eventually be the best, they're not even in the league anymore.
I mean,
most don't. Yeah,
right.
on that too. Like most don't even mention Patrick Mahomes sat behind
Yeah.
Alex Smith for an entire season. Did not play until the the end of the season, just when Alex Smith went down. I think it was he
Yeah.
went down, right?
Yeah.
He went down.
No.
And-
They had.
Oh,
They
no,
had
it was
it was right
yeah.
before they threw
Yeah.
away.
He just sat out. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but I
yeah.
mean, even on the thing of just, I think in the 49ers sense, he had such a small window just because of, again, everything they gave up to get up there. But then at the end of the day, I think it's on the 49ers fault too, because if you had the overarching idea that he was going to be more of a project, which he was a project quarterback at the time, why didn't you just shoot the gun on what Kyle Shanahan claimed Mac Jones at 3 like he wanted to? Why did you now throw Trey Lance into that situation where he is now having to go from project development to essentially instant superstar, where that window is so slim, so tiny that even the smallest mistake or injury as such what happened can derail him in such a way, I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both.
And just bouncing back
Yeah.
to that Carl was making, it was Tom Brady who said that. I watched that. I mean, and honestly, it's like even Justin Herbert was supposed to sit behind Tyrod Taylor until Tyrod Taylor got his lung punctured. Jordan Love, yeah, another one. I mean, the Packers have been using the formula for years, and it works great for them. I mean, they had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they got a third one who's looking pretty dang good right now. I mean, I don't know why so many people are straying away from that. I mean, it's working. It worked out with guys like Josh Allen, but you stuck with Josh Allen for 2-3 years of mediocrity before you were able to actually get Josh Allen to where he's today.
Dak Prescott wasn't a first round pick, so it's
Right.
that's
Lamar Jackson sat behind Joe Flacco.
But even
Dak sat behind
somebody like Dak and somebody like Herbert, they had to play amazing. I mean, if Herbert didn't play well, Tyrod was going to go right back in. I mean, and if Dak didn't play well, Tony would have came in. So I think the perfect one was somebody Joey's mentioned. I think Josh Allen is the perfect example of somebody that was able to play and learn and grow, because we didn't through Josh Allen until his 3rd full season in the NFL. I mean, the first 2 seasons, he was just a turnover machine, made a lot of mistakes, but the team was able to grow with him, and it wasn't like an already contending team, but they were able to build around it. It's just the perfect example of how to have a QB develop while the team is developing as well.
I believe even Baker's rookie year, he sat behind, I think it was Tyrod again for a couple of games as well until the Jets game there, right?
Yeah.
When he first came in. I mean, it's just it's a formula that's been proven to work, and unless you have a guy like Josh Allen in a situation like he was in, where was it after his rookie year or something like that, then they go and trade for Stephon Diggs, and he takes that next step. He's still turning the ball over, but he's turning the ball over and generating points.
Was it his rookie, or was it that year 3?
It was his 3rd year. Yeah,
I think
it was that year 3. I think.
But when it's with the Josh Allen situation, you got to go and get yourself a number 1 guy for him, a number 1 target. Like Lamar had Mark Andrews, Mahomes had Tyreek and Kelsey, Brady had Troy Brown, and Corey. No, I'm sorry, my memory's foggy. Anyway, I digress. It's something that Trey Lance, like Carl was saying, would have to be playing perfect in because of the team that was around him. That team was a quarterback away from a Super Bowl, as we saw. They draft a guy like Trey Lance for the future in 2020, or 2021. Yeah, 2021. It does, and then they also get Brock Purdy the next year. So when Trey goes down and Jimmy has to play the rest of that season in 21, you're thinking as was it 22?
Yeah, 22.
Years 2021 he sat out for a while. And then he came in when Jimmy got hurt.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy replaced him when he came back. Yeah.
And Brock came in for Jimmy. That's right. Years are relevant. It doesn't matter. To my point, Trey Lance, I think he could be a guy we see go to the UFL and play very well there. And I think I could see him being like a PJ Walker, go and play well in the UFL, come back to the NFL, not so good. End of the day, I think Max makes a very good point that Trey Lance, I think, is the biggest bust in Niner history. I would not say the biggest bust of all time. I would still put Jamarcus Russell above him, Ryan Leaf above him. I mean, I don't know about the Bo Jackson argument, maybe for that specific team,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, Trey Lance definitely not looking too hot career-wise. All right, moving on to our last segment here. This is something that I felt pretty strongly about for the past couple of years. All-Star games and the Pro Bowl in sports. I mean, it's just not real anymore. Like, flag football? Are you kidding me? Like, I understand, you don't want the players to get injured and all that, but I don't know. It's at the end of the season. You're not playing in the Super Bowl. The odds of you tearing your ACL playing I'm not saying go back to like the Sean Taylor days of lighting up some poor punter on a fake punt, but I mean, it wasn't entertaining this year in the Pro Bowl. I mean, I watched the NHL Pro Bowl for the first time, and it was not Pro Bowl. I'm sorry, All-Star game. Their All-Star weekend for the first time was very exciting. I actually liked it, and I like some of the other events that the NFL does with the Pro Bowl, like the Gauntlet. I think it's a cool idea, but I mean, even you look towards the NBA, their All-Star game is not as entertaining anymore. The dunk contest, rapid decline. And even MLB's baseball game, it's their All-Star game. It's good, but I understand why it doesn't decide home field advantage in the World Series anymore. But when that was like the prize for winning the All-Star game, it was exciting. But with that being said, I got my initial thoughts out of the way. Max, Carl, you guys got anything to throw in there?
I'll just have a quick little talk about the MLB All-Star game at least. I think that's probably the best one at the moment, just because it's a non-contact sport.
I
So
agree.
you can guys are still throwing as hard as they can. I think it's still very, very exciting. I think Joey just didn't like it last year because the Red Sox sucked. Those are my thoughts.
It wasn't that. It was just that wasn't the reason. I liked it last year. I like it every year. I think it's good. I just don't think it was the same as like 5 years ago.
Well,
even
yeah,
when the Red Sox,
I mean,
like 2015
but
when
also,
the Sox.
but the thing is, if let's say the Red Sox were in first place, and you're like, let's go, we could make the World Series. We would need home field advantage, and you see Whit Merrifield starting at second base.
No, that's what I'm saying. I understand why. I'm just saying like it was entertaining. It was like it gave me a reason to watch besides just watching my favorite players.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So just for you guys that don't know, they had to get rid of that because one guy hacked the fan voting system and every single All-Star except for one, or every starter except for one in the AL, I believe it was 2014 or 2015, was a Kansas City Royal, including players like Alcides Escobar and some other players that were not good. Well, I don't.
The Royals were a good team that year.
Salvador Perez, but
the Royals were
players that didn't deserve to be there were there.
Exactly. It's like also with Toronto having a ton of players every year because they have an entire nation voting for it.
Exactly. That's what it is now. Like Whit Merrifield making the All-Star game last year. Whit Merrifield's not good. He's never been that good. And the only seasons where he did deserve to be an All-Star, he didn't make it with the Royals because it's a small market team and they don't have one guy hacking the system for them anymore.
But yeah, I mean, I do like the MLB All-Star game the best. And I think if I had to rank them, I'd go MLB, NHL, NBA, NFL.
Yeah, and I think Joey also brought up the dunk contest in the NBA. That is nothing to do with the NBA directly. I think that just has to do with getting people to participate. Right. I think it's great that Jaylen Brown's in it this year. It's good to get a big name in there. I think it's the judging that really turned people away from it. I think Aaron Gordon being robbed twice. I think good players were like, you know what? It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to do it anymore.
I was doing a little research before the pod on that, and the big reason why a lot of the big name players don't do it is because of the Aaron Gordon situation. Even Zach LaVine doesn't like doing it anymore because he felt like like one of those times he was like Aaron Gordon lost. It was a toss up between him and Zach LaVine. The other time, I would think it was pretty clear that Aaron Gordon won, but they gave it to Zach, right?
No, Zach only did it twice. He won in 15 and 16.
Yeah,
He went back to back. Gordon didn't do the first one, and Gordon didn't do it in 15. Gordon lost to I think Derrick Jones Jr. and like
that's right.
1-1 maybe.
Yeah, and that's really like that's the big thing with my problem with the dunk contest. Kind of the same thing with like, well, not the same thing with the home run derby. I think they always get really good player support, but there was a little while there for a year or two where they were struggling to find some of the bigger home run hitting names in there. And now it's kind of coming back. Vladdy's doing it, Pete Alonso, and like you're getting those big names. But
yeah, I think the All-Star game for a couple of years in the MLB, I think it was like it wasn't as exciting. But then honestly, since Shohei went to Coors Field, that was like huge.
Yeah.
That All-Star weekend at Coors Field, I think, brought a lot more excitement back to the All-Star game in the MLB.
Yeah, and I think with the initial, when I noticed it started taking a down turn is when they took away the home field advantage thing, and I think that turned it off for a lot of fans because that one fan ruined it for everybody.
Yeah,
but that being said, I think you're 100% right. Shohei is saving the sport in that context, and I think
it was a big star.
Yeah, that's something that the NBA and the NFL is going to struggle to have, especially the NFL, because when you're as physical as they are, it's going to be tough to get players to want to do a full contact game. They don't have that problem necessarily as much in the NHL. It's more like watching a college hockey game. They're not hitting each other as hard as they would, obviously, in a real regular season game. But I mean, it's for them. It's also mid-season, so it's like they get that week break from games. So that's like that All-Star game for the players who make it is like a regular season game for them. That's how they treat it. So they keep their body. It's like with the MLB one. They treat it as a real game because it keeps their bodies in that like mindset of it's the regular season. We got to win games, sort of deal. And that's what I mean. Obviously, NFL you can't do it mid-season, the Pro Bowl, just because it's an injury-prone sport.
Yeah, or you could just potentially add another bye week into the NFL.
That's
I don't know.
I think it should go back to contact football, but that's really up for the players because when it was last year or 2 years ago, it wasn't, or three, was it? Whenever Mac Jones.
2 years ago, Mac Jones doing the gritty. Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was horrendous still.
Yeah.
Max, do you have any thoughts?
What are your thoughts?
So I don't watch much baseball here, but I do enjoy me some home run derby. I did actually watch it last year. I did. I love it to see when the Braves players are in it. I love to see when the Braves players are in it. But it was really cool. Like, I'm not a baseball guy, like these guys are slowly getting me into it, because people got to talk on the pod about baseball, I should actually start to watch my Braves. But I did watch the home run derby, and it was actually like an all-star-ish type thing that I really enjoyed watching because, like, bro, how many times can you slug a ball like almost out of the stadium? Like that's crazy. Like the amount of just the hits I was watching leave the stadium, enter deep down the field, like that was wild. Yeah. Wild. So I do like that. That is probably, because I don't watch hockey much either, that is probably my best or like my favorite all-star format of game. The NFL, it's gotten sad. Like, I mean, that Sean Taylor game where he just laid out a man for no reason was in like 2006. And that's probably the last time the Pro Bowl was really good, Because, I mean, it's a contact sport. I mean, at the end of the day, I understand from, like, the Players Association point of view and the player's perspective, you don't want to get hurt. But respectively, from a fan perspective, your season's over, dog. You've got, like, how many plus months until you actually start working out for the next season? Like, come on, you could play one more contact game, and it's like, you have all these people. I mean, obviously the voting system is dumb. if it was my choice, I don't know if Carl is a stats man as well. If it was my choice, I'd let the players with the best stats in. Like that's what the Pro
Yeah.
Bowl should be. It just seems like it's become more of like a fan experience type of engagement type thing instead
It's
of
like, yeah,
an all-star game. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, the mini game. Don't get me wrong. Like the mini games is the only thing I watch in the Pro Bowl. I did not watch the flag football game, but I watched the QB accuracy competition, all those, even the stupid snapping one. Like I watched that one. Like probably the most enjoyable thing about the NFL Pro Bowl now is the dodgeball game and just hearing these guys like banter against each other. But would we not want to like hear that in an actual football game? Because they did do that. They would talk all the time against each other in actual football games. And that's what we're here to watch, like actual
Yeah.
football. So I
Yeah.
Well,
mean,
sorry.
the flag football thing is just atrocious, dog. Like I understand if you had like they did the previous years, like they had old players come back and do the flag football thing with like influencers and stuff, and they did the same thing this
And
year.
that's sick.
Like that's cool. Like that's understandable. But bro, don't change a contact sport game into a flag football game just because you want to respect that you don't want the players to get hurt. If they earned the chance to go to the Pro Bowl, and especially a rookie, would you not, as a rookie, want to play a contact football game as making your first Pro Bowl like ever?
Against the
You
best
want to
players in
go
the sport.
against, yeah, the best competition. You want to show that you deserve to be there, right? I just feel like, yeah, a flag football game is fun and you still get the same kind of banter, but I just don't think it's like it doesn't show why you deserve to be there. When we saw games where like Shady McCoy was making the Pro Bowl, he showed off against some of the best defensive players in the league why he deserved to be there. Like the QBs, they showed why they deserve to be there. And I thought it was cool, the old Pro Bowl splitting quarters and minutes between different guys that made it and, like
Yeah.
doing that. The flag football, I mean, respectively, I didn't watch it. I watched clips, but it was like, was it not mostly? I mean, they split up quarters, but like, it's flag football, dog. Like, why
It
would you
wasn't
have
worth watching.
Tyreek Hill in a flag football game? That's just unfair.
Like the
what?
best part of that entire weekend for me was the CJ Stroud wrist flick to the back of the end zone.
Yeah,
That,
and
that
like,
was the only
those
part worth
clips,
watching.
like if you watch the clips, then yeah, but I respectively say to anyone who sat down as an NFL fan and watched that entire game, I would like to ask, what are you doing with your life? What is wrong with you? And if you ever decide to do that again, you should reconsider because
Change the channel, basketball's on.
yeah. Like they were in the NBA season, dog. There's no reason for you to be sitting down and watching that. But on the I'm ranting, but on the content of the NBA here, I think the NBA is a little bit better because you consider their mini game type ish games. I mean, it's the 3-point contest, which I believe is one of the most enjoyable mini game concepts to watch. I mean,
I'm excited for this year. Steph
yeah,
versus Sabrina.
like
That's cool.
It's more of like, I mean, the three, like favorably, I like the 3-point contest, but the dunk contest is cool too. And I agree with what Carl's point was before. I do think it's the voting system that's making it a lot less attractable for the stars in particular, and I think even the people. I mean, like, I think if they wanted to go back to how it was good, I think you need to get people that actually were, like dunkers in there rating like dunks.
I agree.
Like, I mean, who are guys? Vince Carter should be like a lock.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade was
like
he wasn't known for dunking. He was known for throwing the lob.
Exactly. So I mean, that could definitely make that better. Obviously, if you slowly sprinkle in some better names in there, like, I would love to see an dunk contest competition that's all centers, bro. I would love to see that. I would honestly love to see it.
I think
how they could.
I think
creatively
the dunk contest would feed families.
Yes, maybe. But I think the All-Star game for NBA is still good because I think it's an actual game. like when we talk about the NFL stuff, they're still playing a basketball game. You know, I do think the getting in aspect of it, obviously because they did my boy Trey Young dirty until the end. But I feel like the getting in aspect again is just as tough as the NFL. I feel like, you know, again, I'm gonna uh, advocate for stats and everything for NBA players, but like I don't think they still do. I didn't watch it. Do they still do the format where they let the captains choose who they want?
This year they didn't do
Or
that
Oh,
anymore.
this year
yeah,
they
this
didn't
year's
do that.
East and West, right?
This year they just. I like the
Yeah,
East and West format better personally because
I
I
do
think
as well.
keeps it like a true All Star game. But I mean, and you're right. The NBA it is a real basketball game. I like how the fourth quarter is designed. You go until you hit the 183 or something
Mhm.
like that. Whatever the point number total is, you got to hit. I do
Yeah,
like that. I
Is
think
that
that's
how it
cool.
is this year?
I don't know.
I thought they changed it back, but I don't know.
Anyway,
I
like I don't. It's just when I'm watching it, it doesn't feel like an NBA game, and that's what I kind of want it to feel like. I know it doesn't have to have the same energy, like the same intensity that like an NBA game has, but when I'm watching it, I feel like guys get blown by. There's no help defense coming in to stop the guy from scoring. It's just an open layup. So that kind of
I
for me is where I lean away from the NBA. All Star game, but I do like their mini games, like the skills competition is always exciting to watch that little gauntlet there that they do. But that's my opinion. And then going back to what you're saying before about the mic'd up players during dodgeball, that's where the MLB All Star game does it very well because they'll mic up like one player per inning. So like you're watching the game and you're listening to Mike Trout in center field talk to the guys in the booth just about like what he did, like what he does on a normal game day. It gives you that inside view of a player's life, and that's what I think other sports should look to like incorporate. Like, because in the NBA, you got guys sitting on the bench, and the NFL, you got guys sitting on the bench. They're not playing all the time. It's a great time to like go over there and like talk to them, get that like experience you usually don't get to see. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think
I think yeah, I mean, I do agree with Joey. I think at least for the NFL right now, I think the characters are the best part of the league. And I think I didn't really watch it. I know that there's certain mic'd up moments, but I think they should definitely mic up the interactions between the players during the game. And not to stray away too far from what we're talking about, but I think the issue with the NFL specifically is the fact that it's at the end of the season. No other sport is at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Every other sport's in the middle, and because it's at the end of the season, nobody wants to play. Like that's why we saw Geno and Baker. There's replacements at pretty much every single position.
Yeah.
Um, and also they have to talk to media. Like, do you think Lamar wants to talk to the media the week after the AFC Championship? No. You think Dak wants to after what happened in that game? No. Nobody wants to talk to the media after they just lost in the playoffs.
Mhm.
So
No, yeah, no, you're 100% right.
Lamar only showed up for his
if they threw in
MVP.
another bye week, threw in the All Star game, then throw it in like after week 8, that I think that'd be really cool. I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think it's going to. I don't even if the NFL does pitch it, I don't know if it gets past the player, the fucking the Players Association. Sorry, because I think that if the NFL does go and pitch this new format, I think they push for a contact game, and I don't think right now the NFLPA wants that.
I mean, I don't know. Their other option is just getting rid of it entirely, which I don't know. I know the players love All Star Weekend or
Right.
yeah, All Star Weekend, but there's just no point for a really game to happen at that point.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you can just have a group of guys come together, get recognized as the league's Pro Bowl team for the AFC and NFC, and then call it a day. That's where I think we're heading towards, unfortunately, because that flag football game was atrocious, and I think it had some pretty low ratings in terms of viewership.
Yeah.
If I remember the stat, I don't remember what the number was, but I remember when I looked at it, I'm like, that's unreal for a Pro Bowl. And
I think,
yeah,
I think that's like what we're saying right now is the only way to save it is if they did like every other sport and moved it more towards maybe, like the middle of the season, or again, like Carl mentioned earlier, add another bye week that is meant for a build up to that game. So, if players don't feel like they're ready for that mid-season kind of a contact game, which they should because they're mid-season, which would mean they are ready to play a contact game every day. But, I think giving them another bye week, extending the season out another season, so you still have that time to build up to the Super Bowl. You could do the honors earlier if you wanted to, a whole freaking week ahead if you wanted to. Now that would be free, or or a bigger media day like they did this year. Like this media day for the Super Bowl was crazy. But yeah, I feel like the only way to save it is to make it a mid-season thing and try to reason with the NFLPA and just be like, hey man, I mean, they're already playing. So like what's the worst that can happen? They have just about as much chance as getting injured in this one game as they do their next game they're playing. So I mean, like, respectively, if you want, they could do like they used to add money compensation for the winner or whatever Division One. Do that. Y'all got money to spare. We're a high profitable company. I mean, go out and do it. And I think reeling back to the NBA thing, I thought one of my main points for the NBA All-Star game was, since you don't like, y'all remember when like MJ and Kobe were in the All-Star game, right? Like it was on lock. It was on site. Like they were playing like there was a reason to play that game. I think the main part about the All-Star game that sucks now is that they just, again, there's no care to play it. Like, I mean, respectively, I mean, they don't have any sort of like strategy. I don't see a strategy. It's pretty much just players going in and hucking up shots and, getting a reaction between each other. I feel like it's more of like a playful game where if you were lined up against MJ or Kobe in the All-Star game, you are getting demolished if you are not playing actual basketball, or like,
they don't have that competitive fire anymore in the NBA.
Yeah, and it's like
not,
even
yeah,
and it's like
there's
even
not enough
LeBron.
hate.
What's
It's like
that?
even Braun.
So there's not enough
Coach
hate.
Braun, man.
I can't hear you, Carl. I just hear
I know,
fucking.
there's not enough hate. Okay,
Yeah,
players, they're too
soft, friendly, and all
it's too
I
friendly.
need-
I want
need
fist fights
too
Red Sox
in the middle
fights
and
back.
in
I need
half court.
Celtic Lakers fights back.
But Max is right. It's because of LeBron.
I need the bloodbath.
It's all because of LeBron.
It's all because
man.
of
Because
LeBron's
LeBron
fault.
was one of the
because
most vicious players when he came into this league, when he was leading teams to comebacks, and
now
now
he's too friendly.
gone to LA and he's gone soft. He's gone baby, bro. He's old.
Reach.
He's not playing like he used to, bro. If LeBron brought the same energy he did in his earlier All-Star games where he was playing against Kobe and MJ on like
he's
the
got
Wizards,
nothing to prove anymore.
He's got nothing to prove anymore.
La China's just pushing his La communist narrative across the NBA. I'm gonna cut that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have to cut that out,
dude. It's just bad. It's just sad.
There's no
man.
player right now in the NBA that is excited to go to the All-Star game and just go against LeBron and make LeBron have to guard him. Because there's no player that, like, when LeBron was going there, he was going there to try and embarrass Kobe to prove he was good enough. When Kobe did it, he was trying to do that same thing to MJ. There's no one in the league right now that's going in there to try and embarrass LeBron.
Or if you see like Allen
Giannis.
Iverson trying to break everybody's ankles in the All-Star game, like you just don't
or
see
Steph
that anymore.
or Steph Curry going in and trying to hit every 3-point shot in existence. Like that's a thing.
It's a dang shame.
It's a dang shame, bro. It's a dang shame.
You don't see Jokic even making those crazy passes in the All-Star game either.
No, he just walks like a bag of potatoes, dog.
He plays like me.
Going down the court.
He plays like me.
Jokic's looking like Nick and playing like Joey in the All-Star game.
Dude. Hey man.
Yeah, it's just
wrong with the way I play ball.
I think Yeah, it's like other than those other ones we've talked about, like you guys know more about like the baseball, and Joey has watched quite a bit of hockey, so he knows they are bringing effort to the game, and that's the definer. If the NFL, yes, NFL, listen to me. If you don't make this a contact game again, they're not gonna want to play. They're not gonna want to put effort in. If you made a contact game, put some compensation in. Doesn't matter if it's small. They're NFL players. They always want money. They always want more money. You give a little bit of compensation, they will play a full padded game mid-season. They probably will. You probably won't get like all the stars you want, just like the NBA, but someone's going to want to play. So you can put someone out there. I'd rather see Geno padded up throwing the football than Geno in flag football throwing the football. And it's like the NBA too. They need the intensity back, man. I want to see people dunking on people, embarrassing, posterizing people like they used to. I want to see, instead of Curry just chucking up a shot for a three because he feels like it, I want to see him dust somebody out with an ankle breaker and then shoot a three in the All-Star game. I don't want to see this peaceful, friendly stuff anymore. Like,
Yeah,
it's
they
a
need
sport,
to
man.
sweep the leg in the All-Star game.
Exactly. They need to sweep the leg. They need to Jokic needs to throw some of those shots to the back like he did in that Miami game. All right. I need to see it. I need to see it.
I need to see elbows flying every rebound from Giannis, People complain that he's a little too physical with the way he plays it. I don't think he's physical enough.
Yes, I mean, we saw
game,
a couple years ago, I think we saw Curry didn't he lay down on the ground under the basket when Giannis was dunking?
Yeah. Or like that alley-oop he threw to him where he spiked it and it,
that's fun, but
yeah, but I want to see more stuff like
Curry try to block Giannis. Let's do it.
I want to see Victor Wembanyama one-on-one with Chet Holmgren in the All-Star game.
I want to see Victor Wembanyama against Peyton Pritchard in the All-Star game right now.
Right now. I want to see Wembanyama pick up Peyton Pritchard and help him dunk in the All-Star game.
What's wrong with that? Is that too much to ask for? Is it too much to ask for to get Muggsy Bogues back on the court with Victor Wembanyama and they're just one play? Muggsy just sits on Wembanyama's shoulders. You know what I'm saying?
I want Spud Webb back in the dunk contest. All right, I want Spud. We love All-Star games, guys. You can tell. We've watched plenty of All-Star.
We're very passionate.
In all seriousness, I think honestly that what the MLB is doing, let me restart because you can't compare the MLB to the other sports just because it's not a contact sport. It could be, throw a little fight in the seventh inning instead of seventh inning stretch, the seventh inning brawl. But anyway, you just have one guy in your team just meant to fight in the seventh inning every game. No, I'm kidding. But what hockey I think is doing with their All-Star game is good. It's still a contact game, but you also have the sick competitions. Like they have a skills competition where it's like a shootout competition. The shootout competition is really entertaining because the players will get creative. You ever see the player where he picks up the puck on his stick and he's spinning around and he flicks it and you know what I'm saying? They do crazy stuff like that you never thought you'd see. I think they figured out the right formula, and I think that the NFL could, I think there's a lot of work to do, but I think as of right now, I think you keep stuff like the gauntlet. I think that's probably the best part of your All-Star weekend as in the NFL. But other than that, I think a lot of change needs to happen.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for you folks today. We appreciate the constant support. Please make sure you follow, and subscribe to all our social media platforms. You come back next week, we'll have Weezo, and he can tell us why he's a Wizards fan. That'll be I'm a little concerned on what that explanation for that's going to be. But until next time, thank you guys, and we're always locked in.
Locked in.